police showed up. Some got angry when they were turned away. Fights then broke out. Police had to be called in. Our Michelle Geely is live in Buena Park right now with the latest. Michelle?
Kerry, that is right. More than 200 police officers remain here at Knott's Berry Farm dressed in riot gear at this hour. That is because, as you mentioned earlier today, violence did break out here at the park in Buena Park. Rocks and bottles were being thrown. Fights broke out. Officers had formed a chain at the front gate wearing their protective helmets, carrying batons. It appears that a promotion which allowed park visitors to get in for 5 cents today got out of hand. 30,000 people filled Knott's before 10 a.m., which is capacity. And according to police, the park had to be closed. A couple thousand people, mainly teenagers who'd taken the day off from school, couldn't get in, and that's when the problem started, according to police. 6 juveniles have been arrested for disorderly conduct. As far as we have heard, no injuries have occurred to anyone at this point. Now, for its part, Knott's officials say that the park was never closed down, only the front gates were closed. Things still remain as usual inside the park. And they say that only a dozen visitors couldn't be admitted. Now, looking live here behind me in Buena Park, you can see a line of police officers and their squad cars there in front of the front gates. They tell me that they plan to be here until the park closes. That will happen sometime between 5 and 6 o'clock tonight. What officers are concerned about is that perhaps when these 30,000 people exit the gates, there may be additional problems. So the officers want to be standing by here just in case. We are live in Buena Park. I'm Michelle Geely, back to you in Los Angeles.
Okay, Michelle, thank you. Should there be a development during this...
And Dallas Raines with Eyewitness News at 4.
Police in riot gear try to control the crowds in a huge crowd at Knott's Berry Farm. This after thousands rushed the gates. Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Tuesey.
I'm Mark Brown. It's our top story at 4 o'clock. Huge crowds jammed the park today, all because of a special admission price for Cinco de Mayo. Eyewitness News reporter Brian Jenkins is live at Knott's Berry Farm with the latest on what exactly happened here. Brian?
Well, Mark, it started as a well-intentioned fundraiser for the local Boys and Girls Club. But hours later, the park had to be shut down. That was at 10 o'clock. You can see police officers are still here after this event turned into a complete fiasco. Nickel Day at Knott's Berry Farm turned into a costly nightmare in terms of the park's public relations with area schools and the amount of police manpower clad in riot gear called in to handle the overflow of some 33,000 kids whose rowdy antics and sheer numbers resulted in 4 arrests and the closure of the park. People were actually fighting in line?
Yeah, they're like a big brawl. They're like, oh, I was in front of you. It doesn't matter. You're going to go on the ride.
Downey Unified School District Superintendent Ed Sussman called the Nickel Day promotion reckless and irresponsible, saying it contributed to the truancy of over half the district's high school and middle school students.
Preposterous. I think it's absolutely one of the worst possible promotions you could run. Knott's Berry Farm is actually doing nothing more than promoting truancy.
The response from Knott's Berry Farm Vice President and General Manager Jack Falfus.
Our intent at no time was to have any disregard for our schools. And if I could sit in the back seat and drive everything, yeah, I think I'd be a lot less infallible. Will I do nickel again? No, I won't.
A very apologetic general manager from Knott's Berry Farm. Of course, the schools lost a lot of money today. The state usually reimburses each school so much per student when they're in attendance, and I asked them whether or not they would consider reimbursing the students. No comment. Reporting live from Buena Park, Brian Jenkins, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Brian, thank you. A shootout in Riverside.
When a huge crowd showed up at Knott's Berry Farm. More than 33,000 people tried to take advantage. This was all part of a Cinco de Mayo promotion. When the park reached capacity, people had to be turned away. Fights broke out, some rocks were thrown, and police arrested a number of